never picked up on the WKRP spells crap indirectly until much later in life. It sounds like a good radio call, call letters, doesn't it? KRP, it kind of flows. You just don't think crap. Anyway, I'm Venus Flytrap. Johnny Fever's next on WKRP. Yeah, you right. Corey Johnson back at ya. Jason, sometimes it just happens this way. Speaking of KRAP, look what I had to settle. How bad is that? This is called, you ready? Pepsi Cola. They drink it up north. I think Pepsi, like, say, in Omaha, where LSU's playing, might be more popular than Coke. Coke's like a southern drink. Pepsi's more of a northern drink, although Coke beats Pepsi nationwide, worldwide, I guess. Nasty Pepsi. Why don't they call it that? Nasty Pepsi. That'd be a good name. They're all not good for you, and I'm already kind of summertime bloated from eating and drinking stuff like that, and forget my bottle of water, and there's no bottled water anywhere near the Buddy Diliberto River City's Total Maintenance Studio, Jason, so I had to get a Pepsi out of the vending machine. Yeah, I know. You have your own container. Find a cup around here. Is there a cup? You pull your bottle up like, dude, you can get just water out the sink. I mean, yeah, I guess I could stick my mouth under there and breaks. Or do this. Just hold this, during the show, have my hands cupped, and then occasionally just sort of drink out of my hands. All right. There are worse things in life than have to settle for Pepsi, but not many. Not many. I have a place that delivers food to my house. Long time, 20 years or so, even when I've moved to different locations. They've always had Coke. I mean, they switch now from Coke to Pepsi. And I think it has people like me a little upset about it, but I should be having neither. And I don't think I'm like addicted to the caffeine or Coke. It's not like, God, I'm so slowing down now. I'm falling asleep. I need the caffeine. I think I like the sweet, sugary taste. When you don't have one for a while and you taste one, you think it's the nastiest thing on earth. And I know I've told this story before. I'm at some TV job interview talking to the GM. I end up working there. And I sit down. We're like 30 seconds into this chat. And on his desk is a little Ziploc baggie with like an inch of white powder going across the entire bottom. And on it says Coke. And it was like, this guy got like a pile of cocaine on his desk. Is this really what I'm seeing? So I'm ignoring it and looking at him. And then I glance down at the bag and see the white powder again and see the cellophane bag and then see Coke written on it again. And finally I'm like, time out. What is that? And he holds up the bag and goes, this is how much sugar is in a 16-ounce Coke. I was like, God. And he laughs. He goes, yeah. I was like, all right. Talk about the old desktop distraction. Anyway, yeah, let's see how much sugar is in this nasty thing. 41 grams. Geez, and that's more than a Coke. A Coke's 38. A Coke, I think, is 38, Jason. 41 grams. What did we convert that to tablespoons? What did we do? What did we figure out on that? It was a lot. It was like about an inch of sugar poured into this can, I believe. A good inch. 41 grams equals how many tablespoons? Well, a tablespoon's a big spoon, right, Jason? We want teaspoon, don't we? That's a little more. That's just like the little spoon, right? That's what you would pour sugar into a cup of coffee, right? A teaspoon, not a tablespoon. So let's do teaspoon, Jason. 41 grams equals how many teaspoons? Because that's what you would use, the little white plastic spoon or a metal silver spoon to pour your sugar. 9.8 teaspoons. Jeez and Pete's. 10 teaspoons of sugar in this Coke can. Pepsi. Nasty Pepsi. 10 spoons. Could you imagine that? You know, a little white coffee cup that's 8 ounces. It's about 2/3 of this can. You telling me there'd be like 7 spoons into that little white cup? 7 spoons of coffee into that little white coffee cup. That isn't coffee. That's sugar with coffee added to it. It's the other way around. That is a bleh. Coming up in less than 2 hours, first pitch from Omaha. Speaking of Omaha, ESPN, 49-15 LSU, 53-10 Wake Forest. Speaking of nasty, should be a good one. A winner's bracket game. It's already down to 6 teams. Virginia's out. I forgot who was playing today. It was Tennessee and Stanford, maybe. Tennessee and Stanford, and one of them's done, I think. Who else is out? Ooh, Tennessee, top of the 9th, up over Stanford, 6-4. So maybe Stanford's about to be eliminated. Already down to 6 teams. By the time LSU goes up against Wake Forest in an hour and 50 minutes from Omaha on ESPN. Hey, former New Orleans City Councilman Jay Batt is going to join us in about 10 minutes on the program. This guy is like the poster boy for New Orleans. His family owned Pontchartrain Beach, grew up in Orleans Parish, invested in businesses in Orleans Parish, lived in Orleans Parish with his wife and family his whole life, and just recently an exodus from New Orleans. Moved about 2 miles from his Orleans Parish home site to Old Metairie. Kept his Metairie location of Joe Bank Clothiers, the Mandeville location, shut down the CBD location, his flagship store. He loved that store. Had recently invested 6 figures plus in that store because of City of New Orleans CBD flooding in the downtown. I mean, how are you going to get people to come and invest? They made it flood proof and then like 6 months later abandoned it. We'll talk with Jay Batt, former New Orleans City Councilman. When someone like Jay Batt says enough's enough in Orleans Parish and goes and moves to Metairie, it's significant. You cut him with a knife, he bleeds New Orleans. We'll visit with him in just a few minutes. This Connecticut summit on gun control, I don't know if you saw the comments, the speech that Biden gave. This is in Connecticut, not Connecticut, Yorkshire, Birmingham, a suburb, or some London. This is Connecticut, a summit on gun control. Biden ends the speech with, "God save the Queen, man." Now, there's no Queen right now, right? There's just King Charles. So, I mean, I don't know if you say God save the Queen anymore in England. Maybe it's still a, like an expression of, goodwill and respect towards the country and all of that. But he wasn't in Britain. He wasn't giving any speech to Brits. He was in Connecticut. And then there's talk of it was maybe like a joke to someone in the audience, but how's that going to go over well? I've got a full-blown audience. Hey, real quick, everyone. Jimmy, 17. That's my friend Jimmy. I mean, the rest of everybody out there on TV, listening on the radio, YouTube, wherever right now going, what's 17? Who's Jimmy? So a joke for one person in the audience. I'm not really buying that. Who's the person? And then I think there's somewhere where Biden said it before, and I think it's sort of like no, Jason, the river that flows by the city is the Mississippi. And Jason keeps saying it's the Amazon. And I'm like, no, Jason, in New Orleans, that's the Mississippi. He goes, the Amazon. Then I just go, God save the Queen, man. Like, geez, I'm just beating my head against the wall. Well, you're wrong, And I think it was something to that effect that kicked in because Biden has said that before, I think, when someone was being contrary and it was sort of obvious they were wrong. he used it that way. God save the Queen, man. So I don't know if he finished his speech and then in his head something popped up that was confrontational, or he thought. I have no idea, but he did just blurt out God save the Queen, man, at the end. And it's, I don't know, a little concerning, I would think. Hey, Rouse's Markets, best quality, best price, best selection, over 60 Rouse's in South Louisiana. They're in South Mississippi, Southern Alabama. They're over 20 in Metro New Orleans, which means a third of all Rouse's stores are in Metro New Orleans. Tastes like home, your Rouse's Market. Corey Johnson with you. Former Councilman Jay Batt next.
River City's total maintenance keeps you cool, New Orleans. NOLAAC.com is your cool spot.
Young's Dry Cleaning has free pickup and delivery. That's right. Young's Dry Cleaning has absolutely free pickup and delivery. Home or office, East Bank or West Bank. Call Young's at 288-8381 or online at youngsdrycleaning.com.
Ooh, Leidenheimer, that's what I said. Ooh, Leidenheimer, that's French for bread. Leidenheimer.
The French bread of the city of New Orleans. Good to the last crumb. Leidenheimer French bread.
Dave Miette Insurance Agency. Auto, home, flood, business. 504-556-0809. Dave Miette, INSagency.com. Dave Miette Insurance Agency. Auto, home, flood, business. 504-556-0809. Dave Miette, INSagency.com.
Fausto's Italian Bistro on Veterans Boulevard, where the brothers Fausto and Roland are serving some of the city's finest Sicilian and Italian cuisine. From New Orleans' first family of Sicilian and Italian cooking, Fausto's Italian Bistro on Vets.
The Woodhouse Day Spa, with 5 area locations: New Orleans, Metairie, Slidell, Baton Rouge, and now Mandeville. A day of relaxation is just moments away at the Woodhouse Day Spa. WoodhouseSpas.com.
Did you know Rouse's sells only Angus beef? Angus beef's natural marbling means more succulence and flavor. Whether you choose Rouse's USDA Prime, Choice, or Select, it'll be only Angus beef when you get it at Rouse's. Tastes like home.
Why wear the same old glasses that everyone else is wearing? Stand out from the crowd. Come to Art and Eyes. Art and Eyes is not your typical eyeglasses store. It's one of the finest eyewear shops in the country, right here in New Orleans, with precision-engineered prescription lenses and gorgeous high-quality frames from the heart of Europe, Japan, and the United States. Our products are thoughtfully curated, and our staff are here to help you find exactly the right frames. Art and Eyes, a magazine as unique as you.
Trey Yen in Mandeville, a New Orleans tradition for over 40 years, serving the finest Louisiana-inspired Chinese cuisine. Open Tuesday through Sunday. Trey Yen.
When a young man comes in and they walk into our store and you can see they're a little intimidated. Last week, I saw the young man. I said, "Hey, what can I do to give you a hand?" He said, "Well, I'm here for an engagement ring, but I don't think I'm in the right place." So I got him to my desk, and within an hour, he had purchased an engagement ring, had spent $1,000, and he was treated like he spent a lot more, and I'm sure we have a customer for life. My name is Ken Friend of Friend & Company Fine Jewelers. You've got a friend in the jewelry business.
Here at the NOLA Coalition, we love our kids and we love our city. The people of New Orleans are standing together for a better future. By harnessing our collective resources, the NOLA Coalition will create a safer, more prosperous city for all residents. Your support is needed to help reduce violence, invest in our children, and drive generational change. Join now at nolacoalition.info.
The Port of New Orleans is the gateway to global commerce, the economic engine that moves Louisiana and our country forward. For more than 125 years, Port Nola has continued to deliver the goods we use each and every day, by river, rail, and by road. No matter what, it all happens right here, delivering Louisiana's future at the Port of New Orleans, your working river. Learn more about your Port of New Orleans. Visit portnola.com.
Francesca Deli and Pizzeria has over 15 specialty sandwiches, a big 10-ounce burger, and some of the best pizza in New Orleans. Francesca Deli and Pizzeria on Harrison Avenue in Lakeview between Canal Boulevard and West End.
Hey, every day this program brought to you by the Lamarck Automotive Complex in Canberra. I-10 at Williams Boulevard on the car corner. Right on the corner, right on the price. Inventory, service. The Lamarck Automotive Complex in Kenner, home of Lamarck Ford and Lamarck Lincoln. And now across the parish by the river, the legendary Ford truck and SUV dealership under the Lamarck umbrella. The Lamarck Crescent City Ford dealership in Elmwood on Jefferson Highway. Every day, this program brought to you by the Lamarck Automotive Complex and now Lamarck Crescent City Ford. Ronnie Lamarck from Araby Park. He hustles. He doesn't stop. Same thing with this guy. Former New Orleans City Councilman Jay Batt joins us on the program. How are you, Jay?
Good afternoon, Corey. How are you, sir?
I bet you've never been compared to Ronnie Lamarck.
I know Ronnie well and his wife, Natasha, and their son. I like them a lot.
They're holding down the fort in the lakefront area, Orleans Parish, folks.
I used to play in that house back when it was Wilson Abrahams, before they bought it.
Yeah, you grew up not too far, which Pontchartrain Beach wasn't too far away. Jay, I was kind of promoting this segment saying, kind of Mr. New Orleans, a guy, you cut him open, he bleeds New Orleans, born and raised here, always has lived in Orleans Parish, Pontchartrain Beach connection, Jay Batt, Joe Bank Clothiers, lots of other businesses all around the country, loves New Orleans flagship store in New Orleans, offices in New Orleans. I'm like, when Jay Batt leaves New Orleans, moves about 2 miles away from his New Orleans neighborhood to one in Metairie to live. When Jay Batt shuts down his 2-story flagship store that not a year earlier invested 6 figures plus flood-proofing the store because the city wasn't doing their job, his tax-paying, money wasn't enough, had to flood-proof the store. You abandon that beautiful flagship store. When you leave New Orleans, Jay, I was just telling people, there should be a concern that's setting off the alarm.
Well, we were really disappointed in the way we had to leave downtown between crime and COVID. It was just a double whammy. But we had a family move in underneath our awning in the front of our store at 230 Condolet for about 2 weeks, and they were fornicating, urinating, defecating for about 2 weeks. We couldn't get the health department nor the NOPD to move them out. It was quite disappointing. Factor that with COVID and crime, and that was our store. We opened that in 1992, 31 years ago, and we shut it down. I mean, sales had fallen about 80% from its all-time high. And then as far as moving into Jefferson Parish, as we get older, the primary bedroom in our house that we built after Katrina on Fairway Drive was upstairs, and I've had knee replacement, I've had foot surgery, so we wanted a primary bedroom on the first floor, and we looked, and we couldn't find. We wanted to get about half the size that we had. We looked and looked and looked. I wanted to buy something north of 610, like the area in which I've always lived. We couldn't find anything, and we heard about something through the grapevine in Metairie, and we bought out here. And finally, and we found so many expats from New Orleans Parish. It was almost like moving into Orleans Parish, quite frankly.
No, it's always been that way. But for diehards, that kind of refuse to leave, that's those folks. And but now recently, so many folks have joined them, and the exodus has taken off to like a high, like in any other time in history where you talked about it, where you noticed it. We're at that time in history again.
Well, the day we closed on our house, my wife noticed the house across the street going up for sale, so she called her friend, Denise Thornton, and lo and behold, she and Doug bought the house across the street that day when they heard about it. And they lived in Lakewood South with us for years and years and years. But then when we moved, they decided to pull the trigger, and they bought the house right across the street.
Jay Batt's with us, former New Orleans City Councilman. Hey, Jay, we're going to try to reconnect with you on the cell phone just because it's a little muffled. Maybe catch another line from you. Jason, our producer, is going to get with you in a second. We're going to get back with former New Orleans City Councilman Jay Batt, who's just bleeds New Orleans. And for someone like me, I've known Jay pretty much my entire life. And to see him leave New Orleans and to shut down that flagship store that he invested so much time and money into, New Orleans offices, and sort of just go to Metairie. No, it's painful. So, Jay, you had the downtown office a long time. You had another New Orleans office on St. Charles Avenue, I believe. Have you pretty much abandoned everything Orleans Parish, New Orleans proper?
Well, the bank was sold first. We were in the first NBC bank on the second floor, and it's sold to Hancock Whitney. So that was more of a function of that, as opposed to abandoning the city. But yeah, we're no longer on the corner of Louisiana and St. Charles.
How does the city fix itself? I mean, you had this flagship Joe Bank store that you love, the big staircase, the escalator, the elevator is just a rare high-end 2-story jewel in a historic building. And the city doesn't have the pumps working when it rains, not a hurricane, and floods your store, with a few feet of water and inventory's ruined, and you got to rip out carpeting and flooring and shut down business, lose business for a while to redo it. And then you guys decide to invest to flood-proof it. It's
all about leadership, Corey, and we don't have any. The mayor just went to L.A. to first class, came back from Korea first class. I mean, goodness gracious, she sets a very poor example for everybody. And who knows, in the next election, there's a good chance that we may have a convicted felon, Oliver Thomas, as our mayor. He's paid his debt to society. I'm not a big fan of allowing felons to run for public office and hold them. Marion Barry in D.C. wasn't a good example of that. And, of course, Karen Carter Peterson was the one that authored the legislation from a committee in Baton Rouge to allow this to happen for Oliver and Derek Shepard. And I think we're going to have some problems if that happens. The credibility of our city has been in question for years. And if we elect a convicted felon, I think it further complicates the situation with us gaining credibility in the South for businesses to come here and people to trust us and what they say. They want to throw more money out at the Jazzland site, for God's sakes. What a waste. What a waste. How about cleaning up everybody who's underneath the overpasses, put them in some shelters and whatever to clean up the city so tourists feel safe when they come here and make us the tourist destination that we were. Ray Nagin, who went to the federal penitentiary as well, who I served with, at least he got keeping the French Quarter safe and clean. This mayor can't even do that. Mitch barely did that.
Coupled with the fact, and you're a staunch Republican, coupled with the fact, look at the state. This Republican Party endorses Jeff Landry. They don't know if John Kennedy's running. They don't know if Cassidy's running. They don't know if Garrett Graves is running. They don't know if Billy Nungesser's running. Hell-bent to endorse this extreme Jeff Landry. It's how do we start winning instead of losing? Look what we're surrounded by, Jay.
Do you know the story on that? I'm on the executive committee that voted to endorse Jeff Landry in late October. Do you know what I did?
No, tell us.
It was on the front page of the paper in the Kennedy story a week later. I was the only one that voted no on the executive committee not to do that because I didn't think it was fair to the people you just named, Sharon Hewitt and Billy Nungesser. I got calls from United States senators and people in North Louisiana thanking me for doing so. It looked bad. It smelled bad. It was, in my opinion, it was the wrong thing to do, and the optics were terrible.
Yep. The fix was in, the agenda driven. It reminds me of late 80s. You get a governor who is in office, changes parties from Democrat to Republican. And the Republican Party endorses this Clyde Holloway guy, whittles away like 5, 6, 7% of the vote, just enough to push Buddy Roemer, the incumbent Republican governor, to third place. And these morons give us the David Dork, Edwin Edwards race.
I remember it.
Just shoot ourselves in the foot in this state. Democrat and Republican, it's extreme, it's hardcore. Look at you. You had to bail on the vote. You had to vote the other way because you thought the fix was in. Jay, I don't know how Louisiana operates, and I'm not trying to appease you like you do. You know, we got the Hornets because government got out of the way and the business community led, and we reland the NBA team. These occurrences are rare. How does Louisiana and New Orleans, how do we get politics out of the way and lead with the business community? Because Texas, the South in general, Austin, Nashville, much less Atlanta, Houston, Dallas, just kicking our ass all the time.
Corey, I got to correct you on one thing. I'm not saying the fix was in. I just didn't think it was right at all to do what we did, was to endorse that early before everybody had made themselves a candidate or declared or what have you. That's what my fundamental problem was with it. Not necessarily the fix was in.
Well, I'll say that I think the fix was in, but I got you. But what? Continue though. I didn't mean to interrupt.
I know that's right. Sometimes you want to pull out your hair because we go ahead and trip over ourselves trying to do these things, and they don't need to be done. And, you know, allowing business to go ahead and be nurtured in our state organically, the government doesn't always have to be involved. It can happen. People do well. Just go ahead and clear the road a little bit and let them go after it. That's what a lot of other states do. Now, throwing some incentives in there, that's fine. But I mean, it's a cluster, you know what? And it's a shame. And New Orleans itself, though, they can't get out of their own way. You know, our mayor in place, I mean, the fact that we couldn't go ahead and get a recall was disappointing as all get out.
Yep.
But it is just, on every turn, you look and see what ineptness we have on every front, on every level.
No,
It started streets that don't even deserve to be
hang on a second, Jay. I don't mean to cut you off. This break's coming. Coming right back with Jay Batt.
1970 was an exciting time in New Orleans. The first Jazz Fest was held, the city hosted its first Super Bowl, and the first Helm Paint location opened on Earhart Boulevard. While the floppy disks, mood rings, and pet rocks may have come and gone since the 70s, Helm Paint has grown to become your premier source for quality Benjamin Moore products, competitive pricing, and personal service. Please visit one of our locations today, and we'll meet our competitors' prices on any identical product. Helm Paint and Benjamin Moore, let us steer you in the right direction.
Helm Paint and Supply.
The Woodhouse Day Spa, with 5 area locations: New Orleans, Metairie, Slidell, Baton Rouge, and now Mandeville. A day of relaxation is just moments away at the Woodhouse Day Spa. WoodhouseSpas.com.
When USA Today ranked the 10 best must-visit New Orleans restaurants for travelers, Mid-City's own Katie's made the list. USA Today says Scott Craig is chef-owner at Katie's, a much-loved Creole Italian eatery that draws armies of regulars for lunch, brunch, and dinner. A neighborhood spot where locals congregate and New Orleans-style hospitality rules. Indeed it does. Katie's in Mid-City.
For us, it's really relationships. And if you care about the relationship, you're going to do the right thing for the customer all the time. When we're in design process of a custom-made piece, I have a test that says, if I wouldn't give this to my wife, I think we should pass and start over. If it's not perfect, it's going back to the shop. We're going to start all the way over. My name is Ken Friend of Friend & Company Fine Jewelers. You've got a friend in the jewelry business.
Ladies and gentlemen, in this Lamarck Automotive Complex, there's something called Quick Lane. Tires, wheel alignments, struts, servicing your transmission. We're doing all makes and models. It doesn't have to have been purchased from us. It's for you. It handles your lifestyle with your budget in mind. And we want to get you in and out as quick as possible. Quick Lane, you got to come see it. You're going to love the experience. Right there at Williams Boulevard in Kenner.
For Leidenheimer Baking Company, producing the perfect French bread is more than a vocation. It's a sacred mission. And for 5 generations, they've used the same time-honored process, baking their signature loaf with its crisp crust and delicate center, unique and still good to the last crumb. From the finest French Quarter restaurants to your local po' boy shop, for over 125 years, New Orleans' own Leidenheimer.
Dave Miette Insurance Agency. Auto, home, flood, business. 504-556-0809. Dave Miette, insagency.com. Dave Miette Insurance Agency. Auto, home, flood, business. 504-556-0809. Dave Miette, insagency.com.
For over 20 years, serving healthy, fresh, authentic Middle Eastern cuisine, Lebanon's Cafe. In the Carrollton section of Uptown on the streetcar line, Wednesday through Monday, 11 a.m. to 9:30. Lebanon's Cafe.
For game-changing innovation, look to the Latrim family of companies located in Harahan. Intralocks, a Latrim company, changed the game when they invented modular plastic conveyor belts over 40 years ago. These belts and innovative Intralocks technology are transforming movement in manufacturing facilities around the world. Intralocks is a dynamic global company now hiring in production, warehousing, shipping, and more. If you want to be part of our successful team, visit Latrim.com. That's LAITRAM.com.
Here at the NOLA Coalition, we love our kids and we love our city. The people of New Orleans are standing together for a better future. By harnessing our collective resources, the NOLA Coalition will create a safer, more prosperous city for all residents. Your support is needed to help reduce violence, invest in our children, and drive generational change. Join now at nolacoalition.info.
Corey Johnson with you on a Monday afternoon, summertime in the city. Jay Batt is with us, former New Orleans City Councilman. I didn't mean to cut you off, Jay. You did a little radio in your life. When that break train comes down the tracks, you got to get out of the way.
You got to take it.
Yep.
You know, we got a long ways to go before we take care of and get the ship sailing in the right direction with New Orleans now.
A buddy of mine's in Nashville. He sends me a photo, just him and his wife. And I'm like, I send back like some expletives. And he's like, what, dude? Geez. I'm like, it's me and my wife. And I'm like, yeah, that's not the problem. Behind you, I count 11 cranes in the air behind you in downtown Nashville. I was sickened. And I'm supposed to be like, hey, Jay, thanks for the photo, you and your wife. Instead, I'm like, geez, look at the cranes. He's like, dude, I'm on vacation. Relax. You know, I'm having a meltdown.
Corey, the first 2 years of my college life, I went to the University of the South in Swanee, Tennessee. Had to go through Nashville to get there. And Nashville's airport was maybe one concourse of ours. And now it blows our airport away. Their city was nothing. I mean, it compared back in the day, it was like a Mobile, maybe like a past Christiana, their city compared to ours. And now their city just envelops our city, and we can't even come close to Nashville.
No.
It's happening for them. Kids are flocking there. I can name you a bunch of kids from Newman, Sacred Heart, Ben Franklin, the top schools in the city, Lusher, all go to Nashville as because there's opportunity there. We're losing the brain drains here. The middle class and upper middle class are leaving to establish a safer, better life for their families elsewhere. The filth, the garbage, once a week, for God's sakes, once a week they pick up in Orleans Parish.
Yeah, it's not even civilized. I mean, is there another city in North America where trash pickups once a week?
Probably Chicago, if I had to guess, but
I doubt it. Chicago's pretty clean. It's just dangerous in the south side of the city. Chicago's clean.
All right, San Fran, how about that one?
I bet you there's more than once a week. They just, it's like a homeless haven, and you get the hyper woke there. Like, dude, let him stay 60 more days. Maybe he'll straighten out his life.
And once they get a foothold, they don't leave.
No, of course not. No, you're right.
And that's what's happening downtown. One of the and I'm going to take everybody back to Katrina for a second, and people got upset with me for this one. And I had talked to the guys and women, the men and women that were my brain trust, if you will, that I leaned on for information and recommendations and what have you. And they were the captains of industry in our city at the time. And we had FEMA trailers all over the city, and the city park was approached to have FEMA trailers in City Park. And Bob Becker was, warm to the idea, but he wasn't ecstatic about it. But after speaking to everybody that I trusted in their opinions, they said, don't let that happen because it will take forever for them to get out. And I held the line and I drew the line in the sand. I wouldn't let it happen. Now, some neighbors were upset about it. Some neighbors were happy about it. The bottom line, you're going to see what's happening with the mayor of New York City, who might be allowing the immigrants to live in Central Park instead of things. If that happens, they're going to be there for 20 or 30 years.
Yeah, that's absolutely insane. I don't even
devastate the tourism industry.
I don't even understand that kind of thinking. I really don't. It
has nothing. I mean, my decision not to let FEMA trails in had nothing to do. I mean, I had compassion for people I lost our house. You know, we had 9 feet of water and a tree through the second floor. My family was in Texas, but
no, these decisions require being a leader where you can have vision, you have wherewithal. It's like Ray Nagin saying, I'm doing the brave thing, reopening the entire city. It was the opposite. That was the easy thing, the cowardly thing. He should have looked forward to 18 years later. What's the lower Ninth Ward in between Claiborne and the Intracoastal Waterway going to look like 19 years later? What it looks like right now. One person out of 10 back, blight everywhere, weeds growing, terrible. The people that rebuilt got sold out. They live in isolation. It was just wrong. No, leadership, Jay. You got to make the tough decision.
Corey, what you just said, in my opinion, is the reason why we've gone down that slippery slope for the last, 18 years since Katrina.
Yep.
Was the decision to Ray Nagin opening up the whole city for rebuilding. He set up a Bring Back New Orleans commission that was biracial, headed by a black and a white, had everybody under gender, race, and creed was on it. Everybody came and spoke before it. And they made the recommendation. Black, white, yellow, you name it. They all made the recommendation that we don't build back east of the Industrial Canal. Ray Nagin got some pressure from the community, if you will, in some areas, and he caved. And he allowed everybody to build back. And that gave the gangs the ability to get a foothold in the east, in the lower 9, because we did not have the NOPD was not staffed. We did not have the coverage, and we could not go ahead and look out for the people that lived out there. And that's why they thrived, and that's why we have what we have today. I give him credit for the French Quarter, safe and secure, but I condemn him and his decision for that. He needed to follow the Bring Back New Orleans Commission's recommendation not to build east of the Industrial Canal. He did not. He threw it under the bus, and this is what we have.
Yeah, I never forget, because it goes both ways. I believe everything you're saying. Brad Pitt with this dopey, ready, fire, aim, ready, fire, aim, not consulting with the city, not consulting with the state, has no idea if there's a master plan or not. I'm going to go in the poor neighborhood and help out and build houses. And how can the city and state turn that away when they wanted that to probably become a light industrial area? No, we can go on and on about that. But also, Jay, you get folks that fuel that fire in like St. Bernard going rent to a relative only, which is wink, wink, secret for let's keep it white. And then you get if the leaders, supposed leaders in the East, I remember, Cynthia Willard Lewis, they want to change the demographic, just all this black versus white, Republican versus Democrat crap. Texas and the rest of the South, they love our infighting. They love it. They love how we just, cut off our own nose to spite our face, and they come in and swoop in and take all the money.
If we got it together, it would be unstoppable. But the problem is we don't. And we keep fighting one another, and we're not pulling on the same rope, which is unfortunate. That's why we...
No, go ahead. No, you mentioned Jazzland a little while ago in passing. That's a perfect example. The winner should have been like Bass Pro Shops, Cabela, and the runner-up was Flying J Truck Stop or Buc-ee's. Instead it's Troy Henry and Bayou Phoenix, and the runner-up is even better, Drew Brees and Demario Davis. Jay, I'm like, Jesus, man. Well, why can't we market this nationally? Why aren't we getting? It's on I-10 and I-510.
And you saw the first thing out of Alwa Thomas's mouth 3 weeks later. We need an additional $10 million to help it develop.
No, I had Oliver on the show. I was like, Oliver, you work for Troy Henry at his radio station. At the very least, you need to recuse yourself on this, and you probably shouldn't vote on any of these things.
And of course, but that doesn't happen, does it?
I don't know. It's just it's depressing.
It makes your head explode. So my suggestion to those people that get depressed and don't want to hear about what's going on, and on the national news if it's depressing, on the local news because of murders, or our mayor taking first-class flights to Korea to develop tourism and what have you in L.A. and what have you. I suggest they watch old classic television and just immerse themselves in that and forget about everything else.
A Sanford and Son episode or two, or that'll bring you back.
I like Bewitched myself. Green Acres.
That's a good one. No, I was talking about I Dream of Jeannie. I was like, boy, Larry Hagman, I Dream of Jeannie, Dallas. He was so good. Yeah.
Not only that, Roger Healy, I thought was a classic sidekick.
Oh, he was fantastic.
I got to run right, Corey. I'm sorry I can't stay on longer, but I appreciate you having me, my man.
No, I appreciate having you on the program, Jay. Thank you so much. We'll do it again soon.
Take care of yourself. Tell your mom I said hi.
I will. That's former New Orleans City Councilman Jay Batt joining us on the program. No, when a guy like that leaves the city, it doesn't matter if you're a Republican or Democrat, black or white, if you like Jay or not. That doesn't matter. A native New Orleanian that's born and raised here, that lived here his entire life, didn't even go away for college. Orleans Parish, Orleans Parish, Orleans Parish. Invests in the city, loves the city, runs for councilman, for crying out loud, wins and is a councilman for 4 years, representing the city. And for someone like Jay Batt, that isn't a job to enrich himself. He's already enriched by hard work, by all these businesses he owns and what he's done with his life. Doesn't need it to enrich himself, his friends, or family. Did it as a civic duty, losing money. I guarantee you the years Jay Batt was a councilman, he made less money than he would have if he wasn't a councilman. So he just bleeds New Orleans and then finally threw up his arms. Enough's enough. There was finally some breaking point. Maybe it was the homeless encampment up against the door under the awning by his store in the CBD, driving away business. Maybe it was the mayor's coronavirus crisis. One step more than what the feds are doing, just one step more than what the feds are doing, and then claiming it as her own plan. Maybe it's just it rains and the store floods downtown because the pumps aren't working. I don't know what it was, but the frustration level peaked out where he shut down that flagship store, sold his house, and moved about 2 miles away into Metairie. Corey Johnson with you. Hot Monday. Happy Juneteenth Day. Celebrating the end of slavery after the Civil War. Coming right back.
Young's Dry Cleaning, with 2 walk-up locations with personal service. Young's on Claiborne and Young's on Harrison Avenue in Lakeview. Young's Dry Cleaning. Call 288-8381 or online at youngsdrycleaning.com.
That's what I said. Leidenheimer, that's French for bread. Leidenheimer.
For over 120 years, New Orleans' very own Leidenheimer French bread.
Here at the NOLA Coalition, we love our kids and we love our city. The people of New Orleans are standing together for a better future. By harnessing our collective resources, the NOLA Coalition will create a safer, more prosperous city for all residents. Your support is needed to help reduce violence, invest in our children, and drive generational change. Join now at nolacoalition.info.
The Port of New Orleans is the gateway to global commerce, the economic engine that moves Louisiana and our country forward. For more than 125 years, Port Nola has continued to deliver the goods we use each and every day, by river, rail, and by road. No matter what, it all happens right here, delivering Louisiana's future at the Port of New Orleans, your working river. Learn more about your Port of New Orleans. Visit portnola.com.
Fausto's Italian Bistro on Vets has daily lunch specials Monday through Friday, and their entire lunch menu is available too. Open 11 a.m. through 2:30 p.m. For the finest in Sicilian and Italian cuisine, Fausto's Italian Bistro on Vets.
Being a part of people's lives, from an engagement ring to a wedding band. Before you know it, the wedding day is here and groom and bride are exchanging gifts on that day. And not too long after that, there's baby gifts to have. And I just enjoy being part of other people's family, saying, Mr. Friend did my engagement ring and he did my mom and dad's engagement ring. My name is Ken Friend of Friend & Company Fine Jewelers. You've got a friend in the jewelry business.
Rouse's Market is hiring. With 65 stores, full or part-time employment, and flexible scheduling, Rouse's has a job for you, or maybe even a career. Apply at any Rouse's store or online at rouses.com.
The Lamarck Automotive Collision Center, it's open now. We fix cars and trucks. We do all makes and models. And it doesn't have to be a Ford or a Lincoln. It could be whatever you're driving. 32,000 square feet under roof. Now open at 3101 Williams Boulevard. It's all about you, the customer, getting the most for your dollar. I would say the most perfect collision center anywhere. The Lamarck Automotive Collision Center, 3101 Williams Boulevard. Go check it out.
From the owners of Katie's in Mid-City and Bienvenue in Harahan, an old school deli with over a dozen specialty sandwiches. Francesca Deli and Pizzeria on Harrison Avenue in Lakeview between Canal Boulevard and West End. Francesca Deli and Pizzeria.
Dave Miette Insurance Agency. Auto, home, flood business. 504-556-0809. Dave Miette, insagency.com. Dave Miette Insurance Agency. Auto, home, flood business. 504-556-0809. Dave Miette, insagency.com.
What actually lasts a lifetime? Not much, but at Helm Paint, we have something guaranteed to last a lifetime. Benjamin Moore's Regal Select. This paint and primer in one offers cutting-edge waterborne technology, smooth application, and long durability. Helm Paint and Benjamin Moore, your New Orleans paint store.
It's time to relax. The Woodhouse Day Spa, Metro New Orleans' premier day spa experience, now with 5 area locations. For a day of relaxation or maybe just a quick 1-hour getaway, the Metro area's premier day spa experience is at the Woodhouse Day Spa. And now 5 area locations: New Orleans, Metairie, Slidell, Baton Rouge, and our newest location in Mandeville. The Woodhouse Day Spa, woodhousespas.com.
Yeah, you right. Crescent City and beyond. Corey Johnson with you. Hot Monday afternoon. 95 degrees right now. I guess this is around 4 o'clock things peak out. 3:34. 95 degrees. 56% humidity. Feels like 106. Man, thank goodness this is the peak. It'll start going down. Last few hours have been the peak. I guess the peak's probably like around 2 p.m. The real crusher. Anyway, surprisingly, I mean, I'm not going to tell you it's pleasant and nice and go run around, but like 7:38 when I walk Old Tolly around the neighborhood, there's a little breeze and it's coming out of the south, which means the Gulf, humid and hot. It's not a cool breeze, but it's not a stifling hot breeze, which usually by June it is, especially coming out of the south. And it's sort of pleasant. I just remember walking Tolly and Blue and sweating in the summertime in June, perspiring, coming back, just so glad to get in the air conditioning. And on the walk so far, I'm not sweating and dying to get into the air conditioning. I don't know. Sometimes I'm like, dude, maybe you were stressed out about life and you were sweating. I have no idea. I'm not a meteorologist, although I predict the weather just about as well as they do. Anyway, happy Juneteenth Day, Freedom Day, Emancipation Day, celebrating the end of slavery after the Civil War. Over the weekend, President Joe Biden was at a summit on gun control in Connecticut, and he ends his speech with, God save the Queen, man. And then, of course, just looks around, not knowing like which way to go to get off the stage.
I'll continue to say this. Joe Biden has no, Joe Biden saying I'm running again for a second term right now at his age, as a first term president, all of it is absolutely meaningless. It is meaningless. He has no other choice but to say he's running again. He has no other choice but to say he's running again. I think it's about a 90% shot Joe Biden does not run again. And I base my reasoning on just a couple of simple facts that when you're president, it's like dog years. You're aging 7 years in 1 year when you're president. Look at every president when they came into the White Office, when they left. 4 years or 8 years. If it's 8 years, it is blatantly obvious. And it's more than just, dude, anyone's going to show age after 8 years in photos. It looks like 20 years of aging. Just about each and every president. It's hard to find one that it isn't just dramatic aging. It's the most powerful position on earth. It's got to be one of the most stressful positions on earth for a human being. I think Joe Biden, when he's 83 and a half, 84, he's going to be like, you know what? This is a young man's game. I'm going to let someone else run. The years I have left in my life, I hope it's a decade. I want to spend it with my family, with my children, my grandchildren. I was president for 4 years. I've done my civic duty. Time for me to worry about me. Not, oh, there's so much pressure that can't let a Republican in or Donald Trump be president. Joe, you have to run. I think that was the last time around. I think Joe Biden feels no pressure having won the position, and I do not think at all that Joe Biden will be running for president 2 years from now. I think Joe Biden, about 6 months out, will announce that he is not running for president, decided to not run, enjoy the last few years of my life. You know, it's like a quarterback late in their career. When they start declining, it goes down fast. You're like, my God. And then they never rebound and get to how they were a year ago, 3 years ago, because they're 45 or 41 or 38 or whatever their age is. Just, it accelerates. So Joe Biden's physical, mental decline will only accelerate. It's not going to stay the same or slow down. It's only going to accelerate. He's only getting older. Add the fact that you're president, the stress that job is all about, it just exacerbates, accelerates all of that. So I don't think Joe Biden's going to be running at all. And I think there's a pretty good chance that Donald Trump isn't the Republican nominee, although it looks like he's unbeatable right now. A lot of time between now and then. Hey, Young's Dry Cleaning, a lot of time between then, 1940, when they opened their doors, and now, like 83 plus years. A New Orleans institution, for crying out loud. For God Save the Queen, man. It's a New Orleans institution. That's what they were saying Biden might have been saying. First is the media folks, the handlers for the president, were saying it was a joke for one person in the crowd, which you'd never do a joke for one person in the crowd if you're president, and just doesn't make any sense. And then there's at least one audio clip of Biden frustrated with someone that he disagreed with, and he said, God save the Queen, man. Like, it's kind of like an exacerbated state, sort of using it as sort of an exclamation, like, geez, Pete's, really? How can you think like that? No, I'm right, you're wrong, we totally disagree, and you're just being belligerent about it. God save the Queen, man. So I don't know what triggered that. And then, no pun intended about triggered, but what is it? Whose song is it's Sex Pistols? So maybe he was making a joke that he was at it was a gun summit, and I don't know, in his head, the Sex Pistols song went off. Joe Biden likes that music? Making that kind of reference? What's that, Blue Boy? God save the Queen, man? You don't understand it either, and you're a dog. Yes, I get it, buddy. What else? Tell folks to stick around. The 5 o'clock power hour is next. Thank you, buddy. Blue Boy's right. Don't move.
You're on the neutral ground with Corey Johnson on TV on Cox Channel 4 and Spectrum Channel 333. Also on YouTube, on radio at NOLA Talk 93.9 FM, WSLA New Orleans.
Hi, it's Ken Friend from Friend & Company Fine Jewelers. You've got a friend in the jewelry business. Come see us over on Maple Street in Uptown.
Friend & Company Fine Jewelers, Breitling time, 5 p.m.
Ford F-150, #1 seller in America. What about in the USA? Let's see, what about in the world? Who sells more trucks than Ford? Nobody. It's because the Lamar team is the real team. All that makes it happen is one goal. Everybody having a great experience at Lamar Ford. We became #1 for a reason, because we're good. And we need to prove it every day, every deal, all the time.
Rouse's, New Orleans grocery store. Rouse's has the only full-service grocery stores both in the French Quarter on Royal Street and in the CBD on Baronne in the old Sewell Cadillac building. The Rouse's on the river, Tchoupitoulas at Napoleon, is in a century-old warehouse. And uptown on Ferret at the corner of Valence is Rouse's all-new boutique store. With 7 locations in Orleans Parish, Rouse's is New Orleans grocery store. Rouse's Markets. Taste like home.
Young's Dry Cleaning has free pickup and delivery. That's right. Young's Dry Cleaning has absolutely free pickup and delivery. Home or office, East Bank or West Bank. Call Young's at 288-8381 or online at youngsdrycleaning.com.
Here at the NOLA Coalition, we love our kids and we love our city. The people of New Orleans are standing together for a better future. By harnessing our collective resources, the NOLA Coalition will create a safer, more prosperous city for all residents. Your support is needed to help reduce violence, invest in our children, and drive generational change. Join now at nolacoalition.info.
The Neutral Ground with Corey Johnson.
Susan Spicer joining us on the program.
Even when they presented me the award, the people that I look up to the most, Frank was there and Donald Link was there. It does cause you to reflect back and think about your whole career.
Maybe the Stella Brennan Award says that to you, like I've arrived.
It certainly is kind of the ultimate honor when it comes to cooking and hospitality in New Orleans and the world.
New Orleans style talk gumbo, served daily.
Doesn't get much better than that, huh?
Hi, this is Joey Helm. My dad, Bunky Helm, had a vision of a locally family-owned store serving the residential and commercial paint needs of New Orleans. I think Dad would be proud of today's Helm Paint and Decorating, and here's why. We have the best technical staff in the business, providing the best color matching service in Southeast Louisiana. Perfect matching for any color and any brand. And we'll save your colors so you don't have to save those old cans. Helm Paint offers free 2-hour delivery. Our in-store decorators will assist you on deciding what color and type of paint to best showcase your home. But most importantly, as your local independent Benjamin Moore dealer, our products provide the greatest value in the paint industry. Superior coverage, and Benjamin Moore paint simply covers better and lasts longer. New Orleans is a city of vibrant color, and no one else provides the paints of New Orleans like Helm Paint and Decorating. Visit any of our 6 locations or online at helmpaint.com.
Helm Paint, Helm Paint, that's you're right. Helm Paint, and supply. Ooh, Leidenheimer, that's what I said. Ooh, Leidenheimer, that's French for bread. Leidenheimer.
5 generations, family-owned and operated. Leidenheimer French bread.
Dave Miette Insurance Agency. Auto, home, flood business. 504-556-0809. Dave Miette, insagency.com. Dave Miette Insurance Agency. Auto, home, flood business. 504-556-0809. Dave Miette, insagency.com.
For game-changing innovation, look to the Latrim family of companies located in Harahan. Intralocks, a Latrim company, changed the game when they invented modular plastic conveyor belts over 40 years ago. These belts and innovative Intralocks technology are transforming movement in manufacturing facilities around the world. Intralocks is a dynamic global company now hiring in production, warehousing, shipping, and more. If you want to be part of our successful team, visit latrim.com. That's LAITRAM.com.
For us, it's really relationships. And if you care about the relationship, you're going to do the right thing for the customer all the time. When we're in design process, of a custom-made piece. I have a test that says if I wouldn't give this to my wife, I think we should pass and start over. If it's not perfect, it's going back to the shop. We're going to start all the way over. My name is Ken Friend of Friend & Company Fine Jewelers. You've got a friend in the jewelry business.
River City's total maintenance keeps you cool. River City's total maintenance keeps you cool. River City's total maintenance keeps you cool. NolaAC.com, your cool spot. River City's total maintenance keeps you cool. NolaAC.com, your cool spot.
Tubbs or Crockett? Tubbs or Crockett? Who am I, Tubbs or Crockett? You decide. It's Miami Vice, New Orleans style. Corey Johnson with you on the neutral ground. We've got the Ferrari. We've got the cigarette boat. I've got all the pastel suits. And no, I'm not wearing a tie. The question is, am I Crockett or Tubbs? Tough choice. Depends on the episode. I could always be number 9, Mr. Drew Brees, NFL Hall of Fame quarterback. I saw him today on Twitter posting a photo of him and his wife in Paris. I readily admit I'm not the greatest social media person. Should be much better at that, especially since I host a radio and television talk program. I just never understood the Twitter kind of thing, like just, you know, I'm on the beach, photos of like you on vacation. Besides the Paris Hilton, great, I'm robbing your house now. You know, besides that, like letting people know where you are and your house is empty. I just never understood that. It's almost sort of like a kind of a way to brag almost in a way. I almost want to post stuff on Twitter like, hey, look at me. I'm behind a bus on Carrollton, and just show video of the bus accelerating and black smoke coming out of the, you know, exhaust. It's like somebody somewhere is probably like, man, he's in better shape than me. He's in New Orleans, at least. I mean, I just don't, it's a joke, obviously. Why would I post I'm in traffic on Carrollton and a bus's exhaust? But I just don't understand all that like social posting of I'm on vacation, I'm on the beach, I'm on the mountain skiing, you're not. I don't understand the whole concept of it. But, you know, there's also that, what do I call that bragging on social media? Humble bragging, where you post something like, I'm so honored that the Gulf Coast Emmys has the neutral ground with Corey Johnson as a finalist. So honored that the Gulf Coast Emmys awarded me a Gulf Coast Emmy for editorials on Channel 26. So honored. Like you're sort of like, thank you. No. You're putting the spotlight on you going, look, everyone, I won a Gulf Coast Emmy. Look, everyone, I'm in Barcelona. Look at this dish I'm eating in Barcelona, Spain. Where are you? In Avondale? Ha, 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 ha. I mean, I don't know. Social media is strange. Even Drew Brees with photos of the wife in Paris. I don't get what that's all about. I don't know. Maybe I'm missing something. Corey, it's obvious. It's this. And the humble bragging. So honored they're considering me for this award. Shouldn't someone else be going, wow, look at the award that so-and-so's being considered for. I really love what he does or she does. Not the actual person doing it. Anyway, no, maybe that's why I suck at social media, you know. Got to be better at the old self-promotion thing. A hot Monday afternoon, a little after 5 o'clock. It's 95 degrees. It feels like 105, 106. Stay hydrated. I forgot my water. I ended up not with a crappy Coke, but even worse, a nasty Pepsi. The Northerners drink. It's like a pop of soda. I think it's a pop of soda.
Oh, yeah, that's a pop. Maybe a soda. I'm in the South. I need my crappy, bad 4B Coke. There's more sugar in Pepsi, we discovered. 41 grams, about 10 teaspoons of sugar. 10 in every Pepsi. About 9 teaspoons of sugar in a 12-ounce Coke. 10 teaspoons of sugar in a 12-ounce Pepsi. Like, I don't know, the bottom inch of the can is sugar. Then they add the black liquid part. I don't know. Hey, hit some caramel water into that sugar pile. Pepsi and Coke should be sugar drink with caramel water added. That's more of what it is. Imagine that little white styrofoam coffee cup and you shoveling in about 7 teaspoons into that 10-ounce cup, 8 or 10-ounce cup. Like 7 or 8 teaspoons of sugar, then adding the coffee. That's not coffee with sugar. That's sugar with coffee. Anyway, I'm drinking nasty Pepsi, which doesn't seem to be hydrating so much. I would rather some nice cold water right now. Anyway, I forgot my water. Point being, it's hot outside. It's humid. It's heat advisory type weather. That means if you're going to be in it, be smart, stay hydrated. Sunblock would be smart as well. Big hat. I've had a couple of skin cancers cut off of my face. I had one cut off my shoulder about 2 months ago. I would wear that, Gone with the Wind woman's hat on the golf course if I could find one. You know those sombreros that they use in a buffet that they fill with ice and they put beers in them or food? The sombrero that's like 4 feet across. I would wear that on the golf course. Jason, I came up with a great idea, but I'm not a follow-through invention person. I call it the Shadow Buddy. The Shadow Buddy. You know what the Shadow Buddy is? It's a big Teflon sheet about 30 by 30 feet with a drone flying about 20, 30 feet above your head. And you have something like in your pocket, and the drone stays in between you and the sun. So you're under the Shadow Buddy all the time. Jason, you're playing tennis, Shadow Buddy above you. On the golf course, Shadow Buddy. Landscaping, roofing, Shadow Buddy. Cut me in on the royalties? I know. Fantastic idea. Great name. The Shadow Buddy. Throw a couple of batteries in there. The Shadow Buddy would be good for 4 or 5 hours, flying some lightweight Teflon sheet over your head. No umbrella needed. Don't have to find the shade. You're always in the shade with the Shadow Buddy. All right, let's move on a Monday afternoon. Hey, if you missed the 4 o'clock hour, you missed a lot. It kind of bummed me out getting the guy on. I mean, I love getting the guy on. But it hurts because he's pure New Orleans. Like him or not, Republican or Democrat, black, white, ideology, you agree with his or not, it doesn't matter. Jay Batt is a native New Orleanian, a former city councilman, loves New Orleans, bleeds New Orleans, born and raised here, always lived in Orleans Parish, stayed for college, never left. Started a few businesses in Orleans Parish, including Joe Bank Clothiers. Was so proud of that 2-story store downtown. Had his main office out of there for not Joe Bank only, but all kind of other businesses he had. And then the store kept flooding, and then crime and coronavirus and homeless people in the doorway all the time, and on and on and on, and no city help. And then finally just bailed. Abandoned that store, kept the Metairie store, the North Shore store. Moved from Orleans Parish about 2 miles away into Metairie, into Jefferson Parish. Just a real bummer. Because when that kind of New Orleanian throws in the towel, throws his hands up, enough. The frustration levels off the top, shuts down his business, jobs, taxes, moves out of his house, taxes, and moves into Jefferson Parish, and then keeps the Jefferson Parish business open. So the Orleans Parish, folks will go into Jefferson Joe Banks store. No, just a big loss for New Orleans, and New Orleans never seems to care. For decades, you could name the J-Batt from a year ago, a decade ago, 30 years ago, and the average New Orleanian, black, white, Republican, Democrat would say, hey, don't let the door hit you on the rear end going out the door. Just pathetic. Just this don't care attitude. When you lose a J-Batt, it should send up a flare. It should set off a fire. It's like dropping a bomb, slapped in the face with a fish cleaning glove. What do I have to do to get you to realize something's not right in the city of New Orleans? Boy, I shortchanged Young's Dry Cleaning going into the top of last hour. I just went off on a tangent. Can you imagine? On this program? 2 walk-up locations, free pickup and delivery, manless locker locations. They've been at it for decades. Find out more at youngsdrycleaning.com. Youngsdrycleaning.com. Want to experience the best dry cleaner? Youngsdrycleaning.com. Corey Johnson with you on a hot Monday, summertime, New Orleans.
When a young man comes in and they walk into our store, and you can see they're a little intimidated. Last week, I saw the young man. I said, hey, what can I do to give you a hand? He said, well, I'm here for an engagement ring, but I don't think I'm in the right place. So I got him to my desk, and within an hour, he had purchased an engagement ring, had spent $1,000, and he was treated like he spent a lot more, and I'm sure we have a customer for life. My name is Ken Friend of Friend & Company Fine Jewelers. You've got a friend in the jewelry business.
In New Orleans, we don't eat to live. We live to eat.
More is better.
Scott Craig of Katie's.
That is our slogan. More is better at Katie's. It means more of everything. Not just more food, more smiles, more friendship, more love, more. When you do something, you have to do it right. It's all about more, and it's all more of the good things.
Get more at Katie's Restaurant in Mid-City.
The Port of New Orleans is the gateway to global commerce, the economic engine that moves Louisiana and our country forward. For more than 125 years, Port Nola has continued to deliver the goods we use each and every day, by river, rail, and by road. No matter what, it all happens right here, delivering Louisiana's future at the Port of New Orleans, your working river. Learn more about your Port of New Orleans. Visit portnola.com.
Dave Miette Insurance Agency. Auto, home, flood business. 504-556-0809. Dave Miette, insagency.com. Dave Miette Insurance Agency. Auto, home, flood business. 504-556-0809. Dave Miette, insagency.com.
There's a Middle Eastern restaurant that's less than 5 minutes from where Causeway and River Road meet, Lebanon's Cafe. Convenient to Old Metairie and Old Jefferson. Carrollton at Jeanette on the streetcar line, Lebanon's Cafe.
The Woodhouse Day Spa, with 5 area locations: New Orleans, Metairie, Slidell, Baton Rouge, and now Mandeville. A day of relaxation is just moments away at the Woodhouse Day Spa. WoodhouseSpas.com.
Ooh, Leidenheimer, that's what I said. Ooh, Leidenheimer, that's French for bread. Leidenheimer.
Served in New Orleans' finest restaurants, Leidenheimer French bread.
River City's total maintenance keeps you cool. River City's total maintenance keeps you cool. River City's total maintenance keeps you cool. NolaAC.com, your cool spot. River City's total maintenance keeps you cool. NolaAC.com, your cool spot.
Fausto's Italian Bistro on Veterans Boulevard, where the brothers Fausto and Roland are serving some of the city's finest Sicilian and Italian cuisine. From New Orleans' first family of Sicilian and Italian cooking, Fausto's Italian Bistro on Vets.
Custom window treatments can enhance the look and value of your home. At Helm Paint and Decorating, we're proud to offer custom plantation-style window shutters by Scandia. Perfect for any window, including large frames, French doors, sliding doors, and arches. American-made SL300 shutters are available in many colors to match your personal decor. We'll come out to measure, and you'll receive fast delivery. Plus, they're virtually maintenance-free.
Helm Paint and Benjamin Moore let us steer you in the right direction.
Helm Paint and Supply.
Young's Dry Cleaning, with 2 walk-up locations with personal service. Young's on Claiborne and Young's on Harrison Avenue in Lakeview. Young's Dry Cleaning. Call 288-8381 or online at youngsdrycleaning.com.
Rouse's Market is hiring. With 65 stores, fuller part-time employment, and flexible scheduling, Rouse's has a job for you, or maybe even a career. Apply at any Rouse's store or online at rouses.com.
Hey, Lebanon's Cafe is open right now for dinner. They'll roll all the way till 9:30 tonight. How about 6 lamb chops? Pick 2 Middle Eastern sides, 20-something bucks. 6 lamb chops, 2 Middle Eastern sides, 20-something bucks. Best lamb deal anywhere. Lebanon's Cafe, Carrollton at Jeanette in Uptown. Hey, in about 45 minutes on ESPN, nationwide television audience, first pitch, LSU, Wake Forest, Omaha College World Series, already down to 6 teams. Virginia is out. Stanford now eliminated. LSU, Wake Forest, a winner's bracket game. Let's go live to Tiger Town, Baton Rouge. Mike Scarborough is with TigerBait.com. Bread and butter is football recruiting, but years ago, decades ago, Mike expanded the site to much more than football recruiting. It is the preeminent recruiting site for all LSU sports, but really a complete LSU athletic site. And Mike will let you on it right now for $1. How you doing, Mike?
Hey, doing good. Just ready for this one. 6 o'clock, and a lot of great teams. We know the LSU lineup at the plate has been fantastic, but Ty Floyd is going to need to have a stellar game tonight for LSU to beat Wake Forest, the number 1 overall seed.
Yeah, that Wake Forest seems like a complete team too, Mike. Really great pitching, depth with pitching. LSU was that team for most of the year. Had a late season slump, I guess. Middle relief, maybe your third pitcher, deep in the lineup pitching, kind of a question mark. I'm not saying it's come full circle and it's back to the beginning of the season, but not as much of a concern. It seems like they've righted the ship as of late. Is what I'm saying accurate?
I think it's still a concern, but it's really a concern if you get in the loser's bracket. Most people just don't think LSU has the pitching to claw their way out of the loser's bracket in order to get to the championship round. But, when LSU came out of fall baseball and everybody saw what they look like in the fall, the main thing was highest odds to get to Omaha, highest odds to win the national championship. And the only thing that can stymie is a rash of injuries. And they had a rash of injuries, all right, and it was to pitching.
Yep.
And basically, you've got 3 guys that were weekend starters that you have not seen this baseball season. And, Ty Floyd was getting the start tonight. Would he have been a Sunday guy or even a Tuesday guy had LSU not had the rash of injuries to the pitching staff? So they were the complete ball club coming out of fall ball, but got some bad karma with the injuries. So, but now when you see what Joe Bear and others are doing at the plate 1 through 9, even if you falter with some pitchings, you tend to think that the bats can keep you in some games or dig you out of some holes. But Ty Floyd really does need to have pitch a real good game tonight. If LSU wins tonight, they're in darn good shape to make it to the championship round.
So Floyd's the number 2 guy, and you're saying he would be like the 3 or 4 guy if there were no injuries.
He would have been a 3 or 4 guy had there not been a rash of injuries.
Yep. Hey, you mentioned the 1 through 9 lineup. It truly is a 1 through 9 lineup. It doesn't really get weak in the middle or the end, does it?
Yeah, I mean, look what Travinsky's been doing the last couple of months of the season. Joe Baird, Dugas, Dylan Cruz got switched to the number 1 spot leadoff hitter weeks ago, and that's proven to be very good. Yet Trey Morgan looked like he was in a slump. He's out of it. And so he's done some nice things. So, I didn't look. The crowd in Omaha is certainly favors LSU. I see they just broke the Jello shot record. So hopefully we can get rid of seeing that in our timeline.
Exactly. I haven't mentioned it all show, Mike. I was like,
oh
really?
God, it's been annoying for me for 3 days. I got to tell you, I don't want to be a killjoy, but enough already.
Now, one thing I will say, from what I understand, this Rocco's place, they give the profits to charity, I think.
Yeah.
I mean, thank God, because otherwise it's like Rocco's is making like $50,000 and $5.
Yeah.
It probably costs them $1 a liquor. They're making $3-4 every shot. LSU's up into the teens, 12, 13, 14,000 shots. It's like $50,000.
Yeah, but I think most of the people, when you look at the photos, in fact, I know some of the people there. They're not shots people. They're buying the shots and they're not consuming them.
No, I think people are passing them out.
Other things.
Yep.
So Rocco's is making a killing no matter what, because they're drinking the other stuff.
No, that's true. And the crowds are wanting to go there. The name recognition, it carries on beyond the World Series, no doubt. Like the shot thing, Mike, I remember I used to get the Chamber of Commerce person on back in the Skip Bertman days in Omaha, and they'd say LSU by itself would have more of an economic impact on Omaha than the other 7 teams combined. Skip Bertman changed the game. A lot of teams are good now. A lot of teams bring a lot of fans. I don't think LSU has more of an economic impact than the other 7 teams combined anymore. But boy, the Omaha folks love LSU coming to Omaha. There's no better team as far as spending money, right?
Oh, absolutely. They look, and they still get a good, pretty decent LSU group every year anyways, even when LSU's not participating.
Now, they're people like permanently booked. You're so right.
Right. But believe me, they're crossing their fingers and doing the rosaries and for the Catholics up there that LSU makes it up there, because they profit and receipts are up when LSU's in town.
Hey, Mike, I don't want to say Cruz going to the leadoff spot changed things, but the timing is kind of coincidental. When that slump was starting with the team and maybe some question marks, sliding out of the number 1 spot, falling all the way to 5, it kind of coincidentally, Cruz going to leadoff spot, the team turned it around. What's the philosophy there? Usually want your best hitter like 3 or 4, to drive in some runs. Is it they're thinking better to demoralize the other team's pitcher and right away they're giving up a base hit? At least right now, about a 50-50 chance with Cruz, right?
Yeah, he's been asked the question, and he'll give you a little bit of coach speak as to why he's doing it and what it means. But and I had asked him, once they got knocked out of the number 1 spot and they had that little late season slide where they were 7 for 7 in their last 14 games, and they went in the SEC tournament, won 1, and then was out. And then they had this famous players only meeting. And I had asked him, do you think being knocked from being ranked number 1 after 16 weeks what kind of could be a good thing to make the team refocus? And he just kind of shrugged it off. But I think there was something that was good. Actually, might have been good for them to refocus and have guys like Dylan Cruz that are there. And they're about to be multimillionaires here in weeks. But those guys truly do want to do something big and have a legacy when they leave here. Yeah, but all along I was saying, it'd really be a shame when we were talking about Skeens being the greatest pitcher in LSU history and Dylan Cruz being the greatest baseball player in LSU history, that with those two guys, had you not made it to Omaha, it really would have been, I hate to use the analogy, but like a version of the 1990 LSU men's basketball team. You had all that talent and you didn't do anything with it.
We're visiting with Mike Scarborough from TigerBait.com. LSU on ESPN. First pitch about 35 minutes away. LSU Wake Forest, a winter bracket game from Omaha. Hey, Mike, before we continue real quick, instead of cramming this in at the end, how can folks get on Tiger Bait, and do you still have that dollar gimmick going?
Always have the dollar gimmick. $1 you can get on the site, try us out for a week, try out all our premium content. We've got our live game thread that is already ready to roll, starting at 6 o'clock. We live chat that during the game. Our YouTube channel is blowing up. We now have the largest YouTube channel in the LSU Baton Rouge market. And we'll have all the post-game press conferences after the game tonight. And we've got our live show on Wednesday evenings. And so go to LSU Tigers on Tiger Bait on YouTube, hit the subscribe button and the notification bell, and you'll get all our video there.
Mike, if LSU wins, they could be facing Tennessee possibly again. Can they afford a loss tonight?
I don't think so. I think if you lose tonight, you really put yourself in a bad way. I just think, I don't know that LSU has the pitching to get out of there. There's some other teams that can, and Tennessee is one of them. That can get in the losers bracket and make their way through it. But I don't think LSU can. I could be wrong. Maybe you get some performances that you haven't gotten, but previous history tells me that you don't want to test that.
Hey, Mike, shifting gears real quick before we let you go. Brian Kelly really seems to be continuing the momentum from last year. Really, last year was incredible how he righted that ship. I mean, 2 straight seasons of 500 football, 38 scholarship players. I mean, the previous coach, from a national title to almost the blueprint of how you absolutely wrecked the program where it could take years to bring it back. Kelly brings it back in 1 year, and it seems like the momentum continues not only in recruiting, but in the transfer portal.
Absolutely. Heading towards 20 commitments. Might be a little over 20 by Labor Day for the class of 2024. Picked up a tight end who's going to enroll next month to be a part of this upcoming football season in Gilbreth. That news broke Saturday night while he was on his official visit. Friday night, they had the Friday night lights camp. We were always wondering when LSU would do that. Florida had done it for years, where they would do some camp work in the stadium. And it was like a destination deal for a lot of top recruits. Well, LSU did it Friday night, had one of the top quarterbacks in the country in Bryce Underwood throwing passes in Tiger Stadium. It was the biggest camp in LSU history as far as attendees on Friday. And they had another camp day on Saturday, their elite camp, and that was the last day of camps. And I don't know what the total numbers were, but all told, it probably had to be the most attended June camp month I've ever seen at LSU. And I think they did something smart, too. It looked to me like they had lowered the price on it per camper. I think you could go to camp for $40. And I think that was smart. And so, and it's also benefited the other college coaches in the state of Louisiana. Every camp that I was there, you saw coaches from Tulane, UL Lafayette, ULM, Louisiana Tech. They were all there, Grambling, Southern, extending offers because there's nowhere else they could go to see that many prospects all in one place.
Mike, tell me if I've got it right or wrong. The D-line will be back and better than last year, arguably, with your injured player back in the middle. The O-line is a powerhouse. You've got your returning QB and the backup that's going to play a lot. if these defensive back transfer portal guys and maybe one of these true freshman DBs in recruiting can come in and play right away? LSU's a top 5, top 8, top 10 football program, right?
I think so. We know, having covered spring football, that, obviously there were a lot of guys who had off-season surgery, were rehabilitating. There was a lot of missing pieces that we didn't get to see in the spring. But all those guys are going to be healthy for August. And when you look at the schedule, you get past Florida State in the first game. If everybody's healthy and there's no catastrophic injuries in fall camp, I'm really starting to get into the camp where I'm about ready to predict LSU going 11-1.
Wow.
And I'm not necessarily thinking the one losses at Alabama. That's usually what you do. I'm starting to think LSU can beat Alabama 2 years in a row.
Wow. Hey, Mike.
I think they've got that many pieces. You brought up the one question mark, and that is at corner. But I think they've got enough bodies there to work with where they can find a solution. Ideally, the 5-star corner, Denver Harris, that they got from A&M, who was dismissed from their program, that he would come around and be the guy that you can count on. But I think there's enough there, and you're going to get a lot more edge rush.
Yep.
I think they're going to be a very, very hard to deal with.
Yeah, your front seven, your D line putting pressure on the QB. It cuts green corners.
And the other part of it is this LSU offense is going to score some points.
Hey, Mike, shifting gears one last time. Kim Mulkey's got some stroke. PMAC renovations, new PMAC. Something's coming down the line.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a long way out. I tend to think when you investigate what it's going to cost to do what you want to do at the PMAC.
You build a new building.
And then, to even make it a go. And what I've heard from previous looks at it structurally, your structural engineers, they all say that there's no way you can hang, high dollar suites in there. The foundation, that it's just not there. It's because beyond that, there's one of the main reasons why you haven't seen the facility used for anything outside of sports is because, and I sent you the text on this a week or two ago. Think of all the concerts that we saw, the great concerts we used to see there in the 70s and 80s and even the early 90s. Those aren't booked there anymore because all these major tours travel with a dozen or more 18-wheelers. There's nowhere for those 18-wheelers to back up, unload all the heavy gear, staging, lighting, pyro, whatever they've got, and where to park the 18-wheelers afterwards to unload and get out and get on the road to Houston for the next concert.
Yeah.
So you're losing money there. So, if it's going to cost you $125 million to try and make the PMAC work, well, Baylor's new arena just cost $175 brand new.
No, Ole Miss was $100 million. Ole Miss was $100 million. You can build something for like $150, $160, $175, $200 million. Easy. No, but
the problem is if you're going to do it right, which when does LSU not go overboard and do it right? You're going to have to move Bernie Moore Track Stadium out towards the levee near the vet school by the softball stadium out where U High's field is at. What does a track stadium cost? They just renovated Bernie Moore. All new surface.
I like the old Bernie Moore. I just, you might be right on that. What about playing it like the Centroplex or the River Center for a year only, Mike, and then you move into the new building? I don't know if they could build it in a year.
The plan that I was told by an LSU official a year, actually was within a week or two of Mulkey getting hired, was move Bernie Moore, build a new PMAC closer to Nicholson where Bernie Moore is at.
Yep.
Once it's complete, you implode the current PMAC. You make the current PMAC area a grove type of thing like you see at Ole Miss.
Yeah, Champion
Square. Where you can charge for tailgating. You can set up, like a little staging area. We can have like Friday afternoon concerts like Live After 5 here in Baton Rouge or Downtown Live in Lafayette. And you can charge for those high-dollar tailgating spots with a lot of trees.
Yeah,
and you make a grove out of it.
Game day, sports center there, all that.
Yeah, green area.
Yep. No, that's smart, Mike. That's
because an auditorium has to be built too. Now, the only question is, how do you shoehorn? You still have to shoehorn around that old field house. Is that field house also on the ledger?
No, I think ideally, I think you bring up a great point. I mean, I'm LSU. Tiger Stadium's irreplaceable. That stays put, obviously, but maybe every other facility goes on the other side of Nicholson besides the arena where the track stadium is. Now, that's including the auditorium, even all of that. Maybe.
Here's the thing. What happened in Waco with Baylor was, and that's part of the reason why Mulkey left, was it was not going to be an on-campus facility. And even though it was an on-campus facility, Baylor's campus is basically downtown. It was like one step off of campus and you were in the arena. So it was kind of but it made it so they could serve alcohol, and the city kicked in like $80 million. So, the River Center, nobody wants to, while the Smoothie King's getting Duran, the River Center gets 38 Special.
Yeah.
And what does 38 Special have? Does it have any original members?
Right.
That's the kind of acts that Baton Rouge gets now.
Yeah, no, I gotcha. Hey, Mike, how can folks get on Tiger Bait again?
That's it. Go to tigerbait.com, $1. Check us out. Join our game thread. We're going live here in a minute.
Sounds good. Mike Scarborough, thank you so much.
All right. Thanks, Corey.
Mike Scarborough, tigerbait.com, a must for LSU fans. Tigerbait.com. Every day we broadcast live from the Buddy Diliberto River Cities Total Maintenance Studios. Remember River Cities Total Maintenance, because someday your air conditioning is going to fail. Probably not today, probably not this week, probably not this summer. But some of you watching or listening, you're going to have air conditioning problems. System making a funny noise, doesn't seem to be cooling like it should, or worse, not cooling at all, not working at all. You don't have to sleep at a hotel. You don't have to go to the in-laws. You don't have to sleep in the heat. You call Fair and Honest Lucas and the boys at River Cities Total Maintenance. They're honest air conditioning experts, and they will come right now. Weekday, weekend, holiday, overnight, they're there. Honest air conditioning experts that come immediately. Find them at NOLAAC.com. NOLAAC.com. You need air conditioning help? NOLAAC.com. That's all you need to know. Every day we broadcast live from the Buddy Diliberto River Cities Total Maintenance Studios. Corey Johnson with you. Yeah, the Tigers, LSU, 49-15. Wake Forest, 53-10. Tigers are the 5th seed. Wake Forest, the 1 seed. They go at it from Omaha in about 25 minutes. It'll be on ESPN, nationwide television audience, a winner's bracket game. It's already down to 6 teams. Virginia is out. Stanford eliminated. They're out. You got a couple of teams with a loss. One more loss, and they're gone. So some elimination games coming up, as well as winners bracket games, or winners versus one-loss teams that can be eliminated. Boy, hot out there. Stay hydrated. It's hot. Mid-90s every day. Feels like 105, 106, 107. And we're only dealing with like 55% humidity. That humidity creeps up to 70, 80%. Could feel like $110 out there. Harsh. Hey, Jay Batt joined us in the 4 o'clock hour, former New Orleans City Councilman, talking about his business, Joe Bank Clothiers, living in New Orleans and shutting down the New Orleans store, moving from New Orleans to Metairie to live, keeping the Metairie store, the Mandeville store open. When a New Orleanian like Jay Batt leaves the city, home and business, that's a problem. That's an alarm going off, New Orleans. That's not a good situation. Speaking of not good, over the weekend, a summit on gun control in Connecticut, President Joe Biden addressing the crowd after the speech at a gun control summit. He ends it with "God save the Queen," man. And no one anywhere has any idea what that's about, probably including Joe Biden. God save the Queen, man. This was in Connecticut. It was a gun control summit. It wasn't in Britain. It wasn't about Britain. God save the Queen, man. Now, there's video of Biden saying that years ago, and it seemed like he was saying it as sort of like a, holy smokes, geez and Pete, sort of like disagreeing with someone. And it kind of like Joe Biden, to at least himself, if not everyone, he's right and it's obvious. And the person sort of just being contrary. And after going back and forth for a while, Biden sort of throws in the towel like, God save the Queen, man. Like, enough. I'll never convince you. That kind of thing. God save the Queen, man. So I don't know what went off in his head, if something took him somewhere else where he was saying it that way. Was he being hyper funny, too smart? Sex Pistols song, God Save the Queen, Sex Pistols, gun control summit. I don't know if I can't connect the dots. I don't know if Joe Biden can. But God Save the Queen, man, just the White House is saying he was saying it as a joke to one individual in the crowd. I just don't buy that. I don't buy that. Anyway, just crazy. Crazy. Leidenheimer Baking Company. This New Orleans company's been around since 1896. Leidenheimer Baking Company. Over 125 years, 5 generations, family-owned and operated, and still baking that Leidenheimer French bread right here in the city of New Orleans. The French bread that's being served in the city's finest restaurants. That po' boy you love. I mean, chances are like 9 out of 10 chance that oyster, roast beef, shrimp po' boy, if it's quality, it's on Leidenheimer French bread. Good to the last crumb. Leidenheimer French bread. Leidenheimer Baking Company.
The Port of New Orleans is the gateway to global commerce, the economic engine that moves Louisiana and our country forward. For more than 125 years, Port Nola has continued to deliver the goods we use each and every day by river, rail, and by road. No matter what, it all happens right here, delivering Louisiana's future at the Port of New Orleans, your working river. Learn more about your Port of New Orleans. Visit portnola.com.
Dave Miette Insurance Agency. Auto, home, flood business. 504-556-0809. Dave Miette, insagency.com. Dave Miette Insurance Agency. Auto, home, flood business. 504-556-0809. Dave Miette, insagency.com.
Fausto's Italian Bistro on Veterans Boulevard, where the brothers Fausto and Roland are serving some of the city's finest Sicilian and Italian cuisine. From New Orleans' first family of Sicilian and Italian cooking, Fausto's Italian Bistro on Vets.
It's time to relax. The Woodhouse Day Spa, Metro New Orleans' premier day spa experience, now with 5 area locations. For a day of relaxation or maybe just a quick 1-hour getaway, the Metro area's premier day spa experience is at the Woodhouse Day Spa. And now 5 area locations: New Orleans, Metairie, Slidell, Baton Rouge, and our newest location in Mandeville. The Woodhouse Day Spa, woodhousespas.com.
River City's total maintenance keeps you cool. River City's total maintenance keeps you cool. River City's total maintenance keeps you cool. NoAC.com, your cool spot. River City's total maintenance keeps you cool. NoAC.com, your cool spot.
For Leidenheimer Baking Company, producing the perfect French bread is more than a vocation. It's a sacred mission. And for 5 generations, they've used the same time-honored process, baking their signature loaf with its crisp crust and delicate center, unique and still good to the last crumb. From the finest French Quarter restaurants to your local po' boy shop, for over 125 years, New Orleans' own Leidenheimer.
Hi, this is Joey Helm. My dad, Bunky Helm, had a vision. a vision of a locally family-owned store serving the residential and commercial paint needs of New Orleans. I think Dad would be proud of today's Helm Paint and Decorating, and here's why. We have the best technical staff in the business, providing the best color matching service in Southeast Louisiana. Perfect matching for any color and any brand. And we'll save your colors so you don't have to save those old cans. Helm Paint offers free 2-hour delivery. Our in-store decorators will assist you on deciding what color and type of paint to best showcase your home. But most importantly, as your local independent Benjamin Moore dealer, our products provide the greatest value in the paint industry. Superior coverage, and Benjamin Moore paint simply covers better and lasts longer. New Orleans is a city of vibrant color, and no one else provides the paints of New Orleans like Helm Paint and Decorating. Visit any of our 6 locations or online at helmpaint.com.
Helm Paint, let us do you right. Helm Paint and Supply.
As New Orleans is the mighty Mississippi, Corey Johnson.
The old miss, the old man.
On 93.9 FM and 107.9 FM.
Deep River, my home is over Jordan.
For us, it's really relationships. And if you care about the relationship, you're going to do the right thing for the customer all the time. When we're in design process of a custom-made piece, I have a test that says, if I wouldn't give this to my wife, I think we should pass and start over. If it's not perfect, it's going back to the shop. We're going to start all the way over. My name is Ken Friend of Friend & Company Fine Jewelers. You've got a friend in the jewelry business.
Here at the NOLA Coalition, we love our kids and we love our city. The people of New Orleans are standing together for a better future. By harnessing our collective resources, the NOLA Coalition will create a safer, more prosperous city for all residents. Your support is needed to help reduce violence, invest in our children, and drive generational change. Join now at nolacoalition.info.
Young's Dry Cleaning has free pickup and delivery. That's right. Young's Dry Cleaning has absolutely free pickup and delivery. Home or office, East Bank or West Bank. Call Young's at 288-8381 or online at youngsdrycleaning.com.
Why wear the same old glasses that everyone else is wearing? Stand out from the crowd. Come to Art and Eyes. Art and Eyes is not your typical eyeglasses store. It's one of the finest eyewear shops in the country, right here in New Orleans, with precision-engineered prescription lenses and gorgeous high-quality frames from the heart of Europe, Japan, and the United States. Our products are thoughtfully curated, and our staff are here to help you find exactly the right frames. Art and Eyes, a magazine as unique as you.
Trey Yen in Mandeville, a New Orleans tradition for over 40 years, serving the finest Louisiana-inspired Chinese cuisine. Open Tuesday through Sunday. Trey Yen.
Rouse's, New Orleans grocery store. Rouse's has the only full-service grocery stores both in the French Quarter on Royal Street and in the CBD on Baronne in the old Sewell Cadillac building. The Rouse's on the river, Tchoupitoulas at Napoleon, is in a century-old warehouse. And uptown on Ferret at the corner of Valence is Rouse's all-new boutique store. With 7 locations in Orleans Parish, Rouse's is New Orleans grocery store. Rouse's Markets. Taste like home.
The Lamarck Automotive Collision Center, it's open now. We fix cars and trucks. We do all makes and models. And it doesn't have to be a Ford or a Lincoln. It could be whatever you're driving. 32,000 square feet under roof. Now open at 3101 Williams Boulevard. It's all about you, the customer, getting the most for your dollar. I would say the most perfect collision center anywhere. The Lamarck Automotive Collision Center, 3101 Williams Boulevard. Go check it out.
My Sittu, that's Arabic for grandmother, used to make the best football kibbe. You can experience kibbe just like my grandmother used to make, and so many other Middle Eastern favorites on the streetcar line, Lebanon's Cafe.
For game-changing innovation, look to the Latrim family of companies located in Harahan. Interlocks, a Latrim company, changed the game when they invented modular plastic conveyor belts over 40 years ago. These belts and innovative Interlocks technology are transforming movement in manufacturing facilities around the world. Interlocks is a dynamic global company now hiring in production, warehousing, shipping, and more. If you want to be part of our successful team, visit latrim.com. That's LAITRAM.com.
Fausto's Italian Bistro open their doors for dinner at 5 o'clock. They'll roll till 9 p.m. tonight. You can sit at the bar and enjoy Sicilian and Italian and check out LSU baseball. LSU Wake Forest, first pitch, about 10 minutes away. That'll be on the TV at the bar at Fausto's, or dine in the restaurant. And I don't know, if the weather, you get a little breeze and it's not too hot outside, once the sun drops out the sky, you can eat outside if you'd like. Fausto's Italian Bistro on Vets. Some of the city's best Sicilian and Italian. Fausto's Italian Bistro tonight for dinner on Vets. Yeah, LSU 49-15. Wake Forest 53-10. The SEC's best, the ACC's best, going at it tonight in about 5 minutes. A winner's bracket game, in about 10 minutes. A winner's bracket game from Omaha, a little after 6 o'clock. ESPN, nationwide television audience. LSU Wake Forest baseball. Yeah, you're right. That Elite Eight is down to 6 now. Virginia out. Stanford out. Tennessee eliminated Stanford. And you heard Mike Scarborough. Tennessee's got depth at pitching, healthy pitching. They can come out of a loser's bracket. LSU, because of injuries on the pitching staff, lack of depth, kind of question marks with the bullpen, probably not geared to come out of that loser's bracket. Wake Forest, number 1 seed, they're loaded at pitching. Ty Floyd will take the mound tonight for the Tigers. A summit on gun control in Connecticut over the weekend. Joe Biden ends it with God Save the Queen, man. And no one anywhere, including Joe Biden, knows what the hell he was talking about. Former New Orleans City Councilman Jay Batt joined us in the 4 o'clock hour. You know, I just said Jay Batt's sort of the poster boy for New Orleans. It doesn't matter if you're black or white, Republican, Democrat. All of that's irrelevant. Born and raised in New Orleans companies, didn't leave for college, always has lived in Orleans Parish, office in New Orleans, flagship Joe Bank clothing store in New Orleans, 2-story store, escalator, big winding staircase, an elevator, just maxed out. They invested 6 figures plus to flood-proof it because the city couldn't do their job when it rained. And then about 6 months later, with the crime, coronavirus, and homeless encampment outside the front door of the store and the city not helping to remove them, Jay Batt threw his hands up, frustrated. At 60-something years old, lifelong New Orleanian, committed to the city. So much he ran for Council 1 and was a civil servant for 4 years. And I mean that with Jay Batt because he wasn't doing it to enrich himself or his friends. He was already very successful. No, sacrificing, losing money being a councilman. No, he threw up his hands. He shut down the downtown flagship Joe Bank store, kept the Metairie and Mandeville store, and then moved about 2 miles from his New Orleans house to one in Old Metairie, across the 17th Street Canal. Now, when a Jay Batt throws up his hands, frustrated, kind of throws in the towel on New Orleans, sort of. He never will fully, but sort of. No, that sets off an alarm. That should tell folks there is a major hemorrhage going on. There is a major problem in Orleans Parish. As if you didn't know, but you got to react to it. You can't just know it. Got to try to change it. And you folks in the suburbs, I mean, like Jay Batt, I said, sort of left. He's not giving up on New Orleans. He still cares about New Orleans. He still understands how his bread is buttered. You folks in Jefferson and even on the North Shore, you don't exist without New Orleans. You shouldn't be turning your back on New Orleans and saying that's an Orleans Parish or New Orleans problem. It's a Metro New Orleans problem. Jefferson, St. Tammany do better when Orleans Parish does better. You think you would be gung-ho and committed as a St. Bernard, Jefferson Parish, North Shore resident to making sure New Orleans thrives and is successful as much as a taxpayer voting Orleans Parish resident. Doing anything else is illogical and makes no sense at all.
Hey, Latrim, the global manufacturing giant, over 80 acres under the UEP Long Bridge in Elmwood. Over 1,300 employees now, a few hundred on the North Shore too. That means East Bankers, West Bankers, not looking for a job, but a career. Latrim's got you covered in Elmwood. North Shore folks, Latrim's got you covered on the I-12 corridor. A culture of innovation, and they're hiring. For a full listing of positions available, go to Latrim.com. Latrim spelled L-A-I-T-R-A-M, Latrim.com. Uh-oh, this guy wants to apply for a gig at Latrim. What's that, Blue Boy? You can lay down a mean weld. You can help construct all plastic modular conveyor belts. You're very versatile. Blue Boy, I believe you. You may have to apply, Latrim.com. I don't know if they're hiring dogs, though, but we'll see. Hey, New Orleans, have a great night. Go Tigers on ESPN right now. Mañana.
You're on the neutral ground with Corey Johnson on TV on Cox Channel 4 and Spectrum Channel 333. Also on YouTube, on radio at NOLA Talk 93.9 FM, WSLA New Orleans.
Hi, it's Ken Friend from Friend & Company Fine Jewelers. You've got a friend in the jewelry business. Come see us over on Maple Street in Uptown.
Friend & Company Fine Jewelers, Breitling time, 6 p.m.